This is an exclusive group. All these women are incarcerated, and they hope these steps will lead them to new lives.
A lot of these women are considered throwaways in a warehouse. There's this perception of people who are in prison and what they must be like.
It's very common, for women to come into prison because of the trauma, the abuse.
Why do you believe that?
Because I'm one of them.
At a time when women have become the fastest growing segment of the incarcerated population, what does it mean to be a woman, stomping, flowing, and shaking her way through trauma while confined?
We got it? Oh, I like that. I don't speak English.
And what happens when these women re-enter life on the outside?
Prisons are supposed to be about rehabilitation, getting people back to enter humanity.
I've been free since I did that in the prison. I released everything there.
Here we go. We're headed to La Vista Correctional Facility. And it's where we're about to meet up with Lucy Wallace, the founder of Dance to Be Free. And the militarization of the police force is really intriguing on the way to a prison right now. I'm in zip code 81003 in Pueblo, Colorado, the home of La Vista Correctional Facility, a women's prison capable of housing more than 500 of the state's 35,000 imprisoned Coloradans. Like every single state in the U.S., Colorado incarcerates more people per capita than virtually any independent democracy on earth.
I was joking the other night that I feel most myself in prison. I found my people.
When she's not volunteering, Lucy teaches dance to privileged women in Boulder. When a student relayed how therapeutic her classes were and offhandedly suggested she bring them into prisons, she was inspired to launch Dance to Be Free in 2015.
I'm meeting some women who've done some pretty intense stuff, and I never feel fear in my body around I've worked with 600 women, and I feel built for it.
Since it began, Dance to Be Free has expanded to 15 prisons in 12 states.
The mission is to really help heal complex trauma through rhythmic, repetitive movement, and we teach the women how to teach each other.
79% of women in federal and state prisons report a history of physical abuse.
We're gonna use our voice. So when she says, the very beginning, where else can I go? Whoa. You know that one? Yeah. Sing along with her. Most people aren't educated about trauma. It's a human reaction. If someone's done something horrific, it's like, okay, that retaliation urge is there, but there's also a lack of awareness about trauma and how it affects the brain and behavior. And so people don't realize that person wasn't behaving from health. They were behaving from massive suffering. To dance inside prison is really an experience that everyone should have. Oh, they're probably so excited that we're coming. Looking out their windows. Oh, I see the girls.
Along with Lucy today is a trio of women.
Hello. This is the whole game.
I'm so excited. We can hug. It's legal.
Oh my God,
hug. How are you?
I was like, how many of you served here?
All three of us. Yeah.
When did you all get out?
I got out April of 2021.
I got out 7 months and 5 days ago.
I got out June 30th, 2021.
What's it like being back?
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
No, I feel like I'm in prison. As soon as I walked in there, I felt like wrong. Everything I was doing was wrong.
For me, I feel really, really honored. But I think the biggest thing is that for me emotionally, I did a lot of time with a lot of these women, and a lot of them aren't going to go home.
Mary Dolfelmeyer sustained Dance to Be Free while she lived here.
I did the teacher training and I loved it. And I think that was the first time in so many years that I finally felt connected mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and it just clicked for me.
Like 60% of women in federal and state prisons, Mary was the survivor of sexual assault before her incarceration. Mary says not only has she escaped a failed sex trafficking attempt after being drugged, she's also faced sexual violence as a soldier.
While in the military, I was sexually assaulted by a senior officer. And I think a lot of that led to, some trauma, because as a female, especially in the service, you don't report it because they'll kick you out. So I kept my mouth shut, and I would see him every single day and just dealt with it.
I'm wondering how much of that trauma you think fueled your criminal behavior?
Like almost all of it, because I dealt with it by numbing out, right? By taking pills and by taking drugs. And then my pill addiction led to a heroin addiction. And the last month before I got arrested, I overdosed on heroin 5 times.
An armed robbery conviction brought Mary, who'd been imprisoned before, to La Vista.
I owe it to them to get out and live my life right and be an example and never do it again, and never harm anybody again.
These are women who likely never had access to this kind of programming in the outside world. That's because dance classes cost money, and prison is also about money. People behind bars earn less before their incarceration than those who've never been imprisoned.
So I dance because when I dance, I feel complete. I feel like I have no missing body parts. So I feel whole. That's why I dance.
When Mary left La Vista, her roommate, Claudia Barajas, was one of the women who jumped in to maintain the dance program. Claudia, who says she's had a very difficult upbringing and suffered abuse in romantic relationships, is here because of an attempted murder conviction against a former partner.
I have met so many women in here that I can relate to, that are here because of the trauma, because of the abuse.
Were there any other times that you were incarcerated?
No, this is my first time. It was a blessing in disguise for me to come to prison. I come from a family of alcoholics, and I was losing myself in alcohol. That is how I ended up committing my crime. And I know that if I were to continue on that path, I would have ended. God only knows how I would have ended up. I don't have to numb what I feel anymore. If I get attacked with all these memories, I can turn the music on and allow myself to let it go.
Claudia and Mary's stories are only 2 in this choreographed sea of movement where so many women approach me to share their personal stories. Like this woman named Natasha, who was only days away from her release.
July 16th in 2018, I purposely overdosed to kill myself. I went into a coma for 8 days. I didn't know I was done. I've struggled my entire life with thinking about suicide. And for the first time in my life, I'm 39, I want to be alive. And I owe it to this.
Before the COVID pandemic forced some prison releases, the U.S.'s rate of imprisoned women exploded more than 700% between 1980 and 2019. And though there are more men than women in U.S. prisons, the rate at which the women's incarcerated population has ballooned is twice as high as men's. In dancing alongside these women, I get a small glimpse of what the Dance to Be Free initiative offers.
I hope y'all appreciate all this cardio I'm doing for you. I do it for the fans.
We don't always only dance, they also do a lot of journaling and poetry writing. And there's like this releasing of what was maybe even unconscious, and they don't even need to necessarily talk about what happened to them. They don't have to go into storytelling.
Poverty is the strongest predictor of recidivism, which is the likelihood of a person to end up behind bars again. 40% of the people Colorado prisons release return within 3 years, the lowest rate since 2004. But the question is, can these moves and techniques learned in isolation be freestyled into a new life?
Ready?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Patrice Irving is guiding me through her daily meditation practice in a Florida park.
Release.
At age 44, she has spent nearly half her life cycling in and out of prison.
How has the breathing that you've learned through Dance to Be Free helped you now that you're out of prison?
It helped me to be stable now and to maintain and work and mingle with others.
What are you relieving when you exhale?
I relieve a lot of stress and things that I've been held in and everything.
What have you been holding in?
Anger.
Anger about what?
Putting myself in prison and the choices I made in life.
A drug addiction helped fuel Patrice's 20-year interaction with the carceral system. She's been sober a year and out of Florida's largest women's prison more than 3. It's the longest she's been free.
How worried are you about relapsing?
I'm not. I have confidence in myself. Dance to Be Free taught me how to have confidence into myself. And if something ever come over to me, to grab one of my DVDs, put it on, breathe, and dance. If I go back to darkness, I won't make it back out. I probably won't even make it back to prison.
Patrice uses the free Dance to Be Free DVDs Lucy gave her weekly.
Beautiful. This is a dancer's pose. Yes. So from that dancer, you're just gonna lean forward. It's gonna bring that back leg up behind you.
Noelle Demo is a La Vista Dance to Be graduate teaching me aerial yoga on a steamy afternoon.
Bring both hands through the center. As a yoga teacher, I don't think I would have had the courage or the motivation to become a yoga teacher if it wasn't for Dance to Be Free. I got to La Vista on my birthday, which was a terrible birthday present, but it was also an eye-opener. And it stunk, but I found myself again. And I contribute that a lot to Dance to Be Free.
Noelle established a rhythm in and out of the prison system for years, in part because of an opioid addiction ignited by prescription painkillers.
My aunt fought tooth and nail to get me out of jail because my mom was dying, and I got released 10 days before my mother died. So I got to spend the last 10 days of her life with her. And she fought so hard for so long for me to be okay that it wasn't okay that I was living the way that I was. So once I got to prison to serve the remainder of my sentence, I didn't want to do anything that would disrespect how much she did for me. It was something that made us feel like we weren't incarcerated anymore. It made us feel normal.
Noelle left La Vista in February 2018.
It gave me a sense of self-worth, a sense of accomplishment, a sense of just knowing that I'm better than what my poor choices were.
I feel like it's giving a population that wasn't given just any fair shot, whether it was like growing up in severe poverty, being traumatized at a young age, growing up with racism. There wasn't even the opportunity to take a dance class. We're going in and saying, no, you can take this program, you're a human.
I've always loved dance because I see it as a way for people to be their freest. And these women seem to have found some freedom in confinement, if only for a moment.
Okay. I was born for it. I was born